Okay. Now that we have talked about what's the momentary, short run, and long runner. Okay. Now that we know that in the momentary period, all factors of production are considered fixed. Okay. There's nothing you can do. Sudden increase in demand. Maybe the only way that can register is as a higher price. You just have to charge a higher price. But in the short run, you might increase supply. Okay, you might go borrow some buckets from the nearby village and increase the buckets of water you can supply to the village. Or if you are a restaurant owner, you might quickly arrange something and increase the number of plates you can supply. Right? So in the short run, we expect a little bit of increase in supply as well as an increase in supply as a result of a change in demand, for example. While in the long run, all factors of production are considered variable. You can vary them. So for example, if the demand continues to be high, you might just maybe expand your scale of operations. Okay, maybe you extend a new building where you serve more people. So that happens. Right? And don't forget, as we said earlier, the runs depend on the type of business. Okay, the run is different for a restaurant owner, much shorter, compared to a car manufacturer such as Toyota or a company that manufactures computer chips, because the expansion they will have to take place, the way they have to respond, it takes them more time. Okay, so the momentary short and long run for a restaurant owner can be different from that of a car manufacturer, for example. So the runs depend on the type of business. Now that we know this, let's move on to state the law of diminishing marginal returns. In the short run, where we consider at least one factor of production being variable, the short run the production in the short run is determined by the law of diminishing marginal returns. Okay, the law of diminishing marginal returns is very similar to the law of diminishing marginal utility in consumer behavior. What the idea is that, for example, imagine you spent a whole day in the sun. Okay, you traveled a long way and you are really thirsty. You take the first glass of water. Okay, let's imagine that this is the utility, and here is the cups of water you can take. Number of cups of water you take. Okay, so you can take the first cup of water, the second cup of water, the third cup, the fourth cup, fifth, sixth, seventh. Okay, say this is your utility at this point. So we can say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. This is just like a measure of the satisfaction you get from drinking the cups of water. When you drink the first cup of water, you increase your utility, your satisfaction. Okay? Because you are really thirsty. The second cup of water also increases your utility. But here, the first 1, 2, 3 cups of water, your utility, the satisfaction you get from drinking is really high. But as you continue to drink more and more cups of water, the utility you get from the next cup starts to reduce. Okay? So this is what is similar, what will be happening here in the law of diminishing marginal returns. Okay? So what the law of, we'll try and illustrate it using this production schedule here. But the idea is that if you keep everything else constant, don't forget this phrase in economics, we always try to do this to gain insights into the behavior of economic factors. Okay? What the law states is that, let me use the black ink. This down quickly. So the law of diminishing marginal returns states that keeping everything else constant, which is ceteris paribus, let's use it so you get used to these things, states that ceteris paribus, that is keeping everything else constant. In terms of our idea right now for production, we'll say our production function is then illustrated by, say, output. Remember, I gave you an example of a function, right? A production function is a function of capital and labor. Okay, we just assume these are the two classes of inputs we are using in our restaurant. We are using capital and labor. Okay, and then we consider capital to be fixed. So this gives us the opportunity to vary labor, right? So we might class entrepreneurship to be a part of labor and land to be a part of capital. Okay, the factors of production. So then we only have two classes of factors of production we are using here in our restaurant. So now, having this as our production function, if keeping everything else constant, that is keeping capital constant, if we keep increasing the labor, there reaches a point where the extra total product we get from hiring more and more people starts to reduce. It makes less and less contribution to output, right? And this is why I put this phrase here, that too many cooks spoil the broth. Okay, when too many people are involved in something, the benefit of adding people often starts to reduce. This is what's happening with the law of diminishing marginal returns. Okay, so states that ceteris paribus, that is keeping everything else constant, which in this case is capital, employing additional units of a factor of production causes, you can say results, causes a relatively smaller increase in output. Okay, when you open a restaurant, you can be able to produce more by hiring people. But what the law of diminishing marginal returns is saying that if you keep everything else constant, the buildings you are having, the freezers you have, the plates, the gas, electric cookers you have in your restaurant, if you keep all of that capital constant and you can only vary one factor of production, which is the number of people you hire, labor, there reaches a point where the benefit you get from hiring the next worker starts to reduce, because now these people start to bump into each other, or they start to fight over using the different utensils in the kitchen. So the benefit from hiring them will start to fall. Okay, we'll try and illustrate this using this production schedule. Now, let me make a curves here. Imagine we have this curve representing total product. Okay, and we have this curve here representing our marginal product. Marginal product is just the extra product we get from hiring the next worker. Okay, if we hire one more worker, how many more plates can we produce as a result of that? This is what marginal product is talking. Remember, marginal decision making, as I noted earlier in the principles of economics. Rational decision makers make decisions at the margin. What is the benefit of hiring the next person? Shall I hire the next person or not? Okay, and doing that, they have to consider benefits and costs. Now, so assuming this is the total product function, and here we have the number of workers. We are going to see how total output increases as a result of hiring more workers, but also we will also illustrate that of the marginal product, the extra product we get as a result of hiring the next person. Okay, so we say here again number of workers. So this is what we are going to increase, the number of workers. So we are going to see how output behaves and how marginal product behaves as a result of that. Now, from the illustration we have here, Okay, assume the scenario. I have opened a new restaurant. Okay, if I have not hired anyone to work, output of course will be 0. So output will be 0. Okay, let me make notes here. We can hire out to 7 workers. So we say first worker, second worker, third worker, fourth worker, fifth worker, sixth worker, seventh worker. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we'll see how output behaves. Okay, so when we hire the first person, okay, that person can use all the utensils, can go prepare, come and ask the customers, go to the kitchen, cook, come and serve them and collect the money. As a result of that, we are able to produce 2 plates of rice, 2 plates in our restaurant for 1 hour. Okay, so this is total product. It's only the product we get from hiring that first person. Now, if we see that there are many utensils, there are opportunities for us to increase output, we hire the second person. Now, hiring the second person, what happens here? We see that now that results in 4 extra plates. Okay, because we hire the second person, we can now produce 4 extra plates. Before, the first person could produce 2 plates. Now, hiring the next person produces 4 more plates. So that raises total output to 6 plates. I think I should use another color. 2, 6. Okay. How is this possible? Because imagine if the second worker just photocopies what the first one was doing. We would just expect, if output was earlier 2 plates per hour, now we should only be able to produce another 2 plates if the second person does exactly what the first person was doing. So this should give us 4 plates. But what we have here, total product is 6 plates. How is this possible? Well, this is interesting because this tells us about the idea of specialization. When there was just one worker, the same person can go on and ask customers what they want, goes to the kitchen, prepare the food, comes, serves them, collects the money and the plates, goes, wash them, and does the same thing again. When the second person comes, they can now share the work. If one of them is better at talking to customers, really quick at collecting money and doing the calculations, maybe that person is does the work of serving, collecting the money, bringing the orders to the kitchen. Okay, and then the other person who is better at cooking, who is really good with food, dealing with the pots and the dishes, can do the cooking. Because now they can share the work, they can specialize. Specialization is what results to output more than doubling. Okay? So instead of just having 4 plates, because we have doubled the number of people we have, now we have 6 plates because of specialization. It becomes more efficient, they can produce more. Because the person who is better at this can go and do this. We can share the load. Okay? That means we do it quicker, and doing it quicker means we can produce more at the same amount of time. Now, looking at this, we say there is still more opportunity to increase the number of plates we can serve in an hour in our restaurant. So we say, let us go on and hire another person, the third person. Now, when we hire the third person, what we see is we have an extra 6 plates per hour. Wow, this is good. So now, we had earlier 6 plates. With the 6 extra plates, so now total output becomes 12 plates in an hour. Total output is rising as a result of hiring extra workers. Okay? And the extra they are contributing is even also rising. Before hiring the second person gave 4 plates, 4 extra plates. Now hiring the third person gives 6 extra plates. So it is rising. Okay? Now we look and see there is still more opportunity to increase output. So we go on and hire the 4th person. When we hire the 4th person, this increases the number of plates we can serve per hour by 8. So now we can serve 8 more plates per hour as a result of hiring the 4th worker. Specialization is also happening here. Okay? Maybe we see that 2 people can go to the kitchen and do the cooking. So we can even prepare more food. One person can go on and just do the dishes and collect the plates and wash the dishes. While one other person collects the money and brings the order to the kitchen. So 4 people, production is rising even more. Okay, so as a result of bringing the fourth person, we have 8 extra plates. So that 8 extra plates plus the